एंट्री करना चाहिए। ये कंट्रोल प्रोसेस होता है।
Ready.
Yeah. Naren, you can
Dr.
put your...
Darleen, bye. Thank you.
Kishore sir? Pranesh? Pranesh? Can you call Pranesh?
Madam, you can start, ma'am. Sir will be joining later.
Okay. So most respected, distinguished speaker for the session, Mr. Alexander Sylvia, UFA Pro Licensed Football Coach, Assistant Coach for Under 21 of the National Team Portugal Football Association. Alexander Manuel Correa de Silva is the University Professor of Football Training Methodology in the Football Masters Program. He's been working for the past 10 years in Portugal, FA as an assistant coach in the Under 21 and also the Olympic national teams. They have qualified for 2 of the Under 21 European Championships in 2015, 2017, finalists in 2015, and for the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. He has 4 master's degrees in the areas of sports training, sports psychology, and also works as an invited professor in a university in Lisbon. Faculty of Physical Education Sport in Lusofana University. So on behalf of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Hello India, LNCPE, a warm welcome to our most distinguished speaker, Alexander. I also like to welcome our darling, I say I'll call it a darling, Klukka, because I was just thinking, how did a ray of spark come in? Thank you so much, and it's a welcome. Welcome to this session. A warm welcome to you. I'd like to welcome our principal, Dr. G. Kishore, sir, to the session. I welcome all the invited guests and participants to this session. Alexander, for the session, please.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
First of all, let me thank you for this kind invitation from the Sports Authority of India, the LNCPE. What an amazing job you are doing. For me, it's really an honor to be a part of it and try to make my contribution, my small contribution for these sessions. I also want to wish that everybody that's assisting, watching this presentation is staying safe and healthy during this pandemic. I wish you all the best. And now I hope that my topic doesn't go too off from what you've been hearing. I'll do my best to make it an enjoyable session for you. So if you don't mind, I'll now start to share my presentation.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Is it okay, Dr. Narendra?
Yeah, you can continue.
Okay, so the topic of my session will be about scouting talents in football. I'll try to give you some insights from my federation, the Portuguese Football Federation, decade of success. Well, for starters, I feel a little bit like Tom Cruise from Mission Impossible because I have little under 1 hour to try to tell you some things that represent what we have been doing, what characterizes us as a country, and also try to give you some valuable information for your daily jobs, for your future jobs. Let's see if in the end my mission is accomplished or not. I will start by making a small introduction, tell you about some football data from my country, also demographics data, how we are structured in the federation. Afterwards, I will go into scouting. How do we scout our talented players? How do we approach that process? And in the end, I'll try to make some considerations regarding grassroots and community coaching. Well, a few considerations before we start. Let me right away apologize for making my presentation a little bit exclusive to football, but it's really my area of expertise. I will try to the best of my ability to make some connections more at the end of the presentation. And I will also be upfront and honest with you about how we do things in my job. In the end, if you have any questions, or if we don't have much time, you can also email me. I'm more than happy to be answering any doubts that you may have. So I don't know if you may know this, but for the past decade, the Portugal Football Federation has seen a lot of success. Well, if we measure success by achieving winning championships, I guess we have been fortunate enough. And this has happened not only at the senior level, as I will show you in a few seconds. When it comes to the men's national teams, as you can see, Portugal won the European Championship. I will try, I don't know if you can see I'll try to show my mouse, just a second. Can you see this, Dr. Narendra? The mouse? Yeah, perfect, okay. As you can see here, our captain, our one big role model for our young kids, Cristiano, lifting the trophy for the European Championship. Last year, the senior team won again. What's interesting is that the year before we won the men's senior European Championship, my team, the team that I'm part of, we lost the finals in the penalty shootout to Sweden. And some of these players, 1 year after, were lifting this trophy. So this goes to tell you a little bit about the pathway that we are trying to build from our youth teams all the way up to the senior national team. And in the Olympic Games, even though we didn't have all our best players, we were able to finish in 6th place. And as you can see here in the bottom, you'll find the under 19 and under 17 team that also won the European Championships. Obviously, we are all proud of these results, but for us, the main thing is that we keep producing or keep making the best conditions possible so that our young players have the best conditions to develop their talent. And I didn't want to go through this presentation without showing you some information regarding women's football. It's something that I'm passionate about. All around the world, we need to start paying more attention and giving the best opportunities to women's football. Portugal is not one of the best countries now, but we are trying. We have established a strategic vision, a long-term planning, so that in a few years' time, we will be able to fight, to compete with the best teams around the world. In 2017, we were able to qualify for the first time for the Senior European Championship. And just last year, our youngest team was able to qualify and reach the semi-final of the European Under-17 Championship. So this is a process that in a few years' time, we expect to be collecting its results. A thing that, not to take too much of this introduction, a thing that I thought would come of interest to you would be to know that we are also European champions in futsal and in beach soccer. So this is to paint you the picture that Portugal is a country that #1 sport is football, but #1 and almost the only one that has its advantages and also some disadvantages. I'll go into that in a little bit of time. Now, just to give you an idea of the type of players we are producing. Obviously, Cristiano, as we have talked before, but throughout history, we have had players like Eusebio, Figo. Right now, our young players like Renato Sanchez that plays right now in France, João Felix that plays in Atletico Madrid. And one interesting fact is that we have had in the same year the best football players in the best football, the best futsal, and the best beach soccer player in the world. But this comes with a vision. What I try to tell you, and I wanted to finish with the coaches, because this would not have been possible without a good, sound, strong coaching education, like the ones you are having right now, promoted by the Sports Authority of India and the LNCPE. Here, you can find some of Portuguese coaches. Our national team coaches have won some awards. We have coaches working all around the world. Just today, even Dr. Narendra hadn't seen this before in my presentations because this was just in the news today. We are #6 in the world when it comes to exporting coaches for the major divisions around the world. And in a few minutes, you will see that this number is actually incredible once you compare it to Spain, for instance, that has 4 times our population. And this was only possible with a good relationship between universities, the government, the federation, because even though in every country there's a debate between former players, college or academic people, students, the strength of a country is in the mix of these different type of backgrounds that people have. And here I wanted to show you 3 professors that we have that have played a major part in the development of our coaching education. Mr. Jorge Castelo, Júlio Garganta, and Monge da Silva. Afterwards, if you want to get some information about them, I am more than willing to send it along. So now I decided to start with the achievements, with the results, but what do we really know about Portugal as a country? I will try to give you some insights. I try to show you here, also seeing where India is located and where we are, and to show you that we are a small country located in the extreme of Europe, and we also have some islands that belong to our country. Actually, Cristiano Ronaldo was born in this little island in Madeira. And as a curiosity for you to know, we are a country of only 10 million people. So now I start to connect the dots so that you see, okay, we achieved these results, but we are only 10 million people. Actually, if you look, we are a country of many immigrants. Because we are not a wealthy country, many of our people have to go abroad to have better life conditions. And as you can see here, India, for instance, is the #1 in terms of immigrants around the world. Portugal has over 2 million people working outside of its country. The interesting fact is that when you compare the number of immigrants to our own population, we are ranked #1 in the European Union. And so you see that, okay, we also have many people abroad, so some of our talent may be spread around the world, and this has implication to our national team as well. Now that I've talked to you of our population, see here, this is a graphic I took this week. We have only 200,000 registered players. That's all we have, football players. And now I'm talking about women, men, futsal, football, beach soccer, senior and youth. This is our grand total. UEFA wants us to reach, I guess, 300 in a few years' time. What this figure tries to tell you is that we need to be very efficient. We cannot play around when we are scouting, when we are looking to search for the best talent and to develop, because we don't have that many to choose from. Our pool of talent is very small. You can see here, highlighted in yellow, that we have 130,000 young male football players and 8,000 senior male football players. This is all we have. Another interesting fact for you to know is that Portugal, in this first division, we have more foreign players than Portuguese players. More than 50% of the players come from abroad, mainly from Brazil. And so we lose many of our young talents very early to places like France, Italy, Germany, England, Spain, and we have to try to follow them around so that we don't lose track of this talent. Actually, a year ago, I started with my colleague from the scouting department a project called International Scouting Area. We were able to identify almost 3,000 Portuguese players all around the world that could play for our national team. I am talking about kids as young as 8 years old until 40. But we have to scout for them. We have to try to identify them. We have to follow them so that we don't lose or waste any potential talent that we have all around the world. I don't know if you know this player. He's called Rafael Guerreiro. He is a left back for Borussia Dortmund in Germany. He only came to our national team, the under 21 level. He went to the finals with us, and he has already been European champion with the senior team. This is just to give you an example of how important it is to always be looking for talent, especially when you have such a small pool of players to choose from. So now I can give you some of the ideas, I believe, some of the aspects that are important for a country to develop its football. Obviously, we have scouting, training methodology, infrastructures are obviously important, obviously. Planning, good competition models, yearly competition models, the opportunity for the young kids to play all year round to develop their abilities. Okay, all this is important, but as you can see, I decided to highlight coach education. And the reason for that is that if you have a good coach education, you will impact on all those other aspects. Good coaches will bring more young kids to the sport because they will feel that the coach is there to help him. He will feel that he's being developed. If you have better coaches, you will have better training methodology. You will be able to do better planning. So you see, for me, really coaching education, like the one you are here today undertaking, is very, very important, fundamental. I decided this is the first time I'm doing this presentation because I wanted to do it especially for you, trying to direct it as best as I could. And just 2 days ago, I saw Mr. Bibiano Fernandes, the under-16 coach from India, and he was saying exactly this. So if you don't believe me, I hope that you can at least mix these two opinions together. He was saying that the better our coaches are educated, the better we can scout and identify and develop our talent. I guess it was a fantastic sentence. Okay, so now it's up to me to show you how is the federation, how are we structured to achieve those results. Up until 2016, and since we were talking about infrastructures, I worked here. Yes, it's a building in the middle of Lisbon. No football pitches around. It's a building, a business building in the middle of Lisbon. We had a small office, and so whenever we needed to go and watch players, either playing matches or having training camps, we had to travel around Portugal. Obviously, Portugal is not as big as India, but even so, it's always hard to be traveling around. It's not so practical. But in 2016, right before we became European champions, the federation decided to build a new headquarters. You see here a picture of our national stadium, and the federation decided to build the city of football with 2 pitches, number 3, and a pitch for the goalkeeper training. And here you can find the administrative building. Actually, it's here where I work now. It's here where we have the technical center. So as you can see, I can live. Here is a technical center. So if the under 19 team is having a training session, if the under 17 team is playing a match, I just leave my office and in 1 minute, I am able to be scouting, evaluating, watching the best talented young players of Portugal. And over time, that helps us to better select them. So this is an example of how we are structured in the men's national teams. The senior team, coached by Fernando Santos. This is my head coach, in the under 21 and Olympic team. The A team has 4 assistant coaches and a goalkeeper coach. We have 1 head coach, 2 assistants, and 1 goalkeeper coach. And this structure, from the under 15 up to the under 20, is the same structure. There's a head coach for each age category, and all coaches work as assistant coaches for their colleagues. So they have the same model, the same tactical system that they implement over these 6 years of time. I would also like to tell you that we have a department of performance analysis that's composed by 8 people. We have like 1 scout that works with the senior team, 1 scout that works with us, and each team has a video analyst that videotapes the sessions, the matches, that helps them to continuously evaluate their process. And also, in 2014, after Portugal didn't do so good in the World Championship, in the World Cup, we had a lot of injuries in the finals. And our president and the CEO decided to invest in a health and unit performance department. And now we have a lot of people coming from the universities, doctors in physical education, doctors in sports, doctors in physical preparation. And these physiologists are now working with the teams in order to perfect our training methods with the GPS analysis and so on. So here you see what I was telling you about. We have one national team per age category. In dark green, you can see the teams that have official competitions in UEFA. Next year, UEFA will also have competition for the under 16, and in 2 years for the under 18. But now you can ask me, okay, but where do you start to select your talent? Actually, the under 15 national team selects its talent from regional associations. You can see here, Portugal is divided in district regional associations. There are 22. And so each of these associations prepares for a full year their under 14 team. And by the end of the year, there's a national competition that's followed by all the national team coaches. We go there and we are able to see the best talented youth under 14 players from all around the country. And this helps us. So we are able to scout almost 400 people, or 400 players. And this helps us to build this first national team. Afterwards, working in the under 21, what we do is we continuously observe and scout and analyze each of the national teams in order to better project who will be the better player or who will be the most talented players in a few years' time when they come to our age group. So now, my objective was try to be more practical. Okay, I painted you the big picture. Now, I wanted to tell you, but how do we approach things? This is actually from scientific review, from Mark Williams, from the year 2000. It's been 20 years, but I guess it sums up the process of talent from identification to development. So when you see identification, we are talking about players already playing football, or if, for instance, they are playing cricket, whatever the sport, but players that are already connected to the sport. Selection, it's the process of actually choosing from the ones that play, the ones that are better. And finally, we try to develop this talent. I also wanted to put here detection. Why? And I guess this is important when we talk about physical education teachers. It happens here in Portugal as well. Detection is about you being able to spot a kid or a young girl that seems to have talent to play a sport that he or she has never played, or that he or she is not registered. Imagine you are taking a physical education class practicing athletics, but you see that a young boy or a young girl has the physical characteristics that could make her either a good footballer, a good cricketer, whatever. So that is the process of detecting, being able to find that talent. I always like to keep things as simple as possible. So these are the performance indicators whenever I go and watch live games or watch matches on video. I think about these 5 criteria, very simple. I believe this is not news to you. The only reference I really like to make here is the technical side. For us, number 1, it's the most important. How the player connects with the ball, how the player is able to dribble, to pass, how talented is he or she when they are competing in terms of that relationship with the ball. That's the number 1 thing. Afterwards, obviously, we look at the tactical aspect. Are they making good decisions? When they have more than one option, do they opt for the better one, according to us? That's always subjective. Are they doing that consistently? You know, when we are in the business of spotting young talent, consistency is very important. Consistency at high level, achieving things. I also like to put physical because no matter how much we talk about it, there are at least some positions on the field that have some specific characteristics. But please keep in mind, I'm not the type of coach that likes to define a model, a profile for each playing position. I don't think that's fair for our young kids and young girls. Because actually, in the end, we should all be trying to find differences in talent. And just because a player doesn't fit into a profile that was defined by the coach doesn't mean that he or she cannot bring things to our team. So be mindful when you are scouting, not to try to fit the players into your profile. See if they have any distinctive characteristics and they are good at them. The psychological aspect, very important. What do I look for when I'm watching a game? Is the player focused? Does he maintain his concentration throughout the game? Is the player competitive? Has he got that firing edge to win games? But also, I like to connect this with the social aspect. How does he interact with his coaches, with his teammates, with his opponents? This is very important when we are painting a picture of what a player actually is according to your eyes, according to your perception. But I was telling you about indicators. Now I want to tell you, okay, but how do you actually select? That happens when you are identifying. But the selection process, what comes to your mind? What do you think about? Okay, I like, this is my way of structuring things when we are having discussions within our technical staff. Regulations. This is important. Why? Because, for instance, when you are working with a specific age group, you can only call players that have a certain age. Discipline. Is the player suspended? Has the player seen a red card? All this information is important when you are defining which players you are going to bring. Afterwards, number 1, the most important, quality. Like I told you before. This happens because a player may not be playing sometime, even when they are young. As you know, that transition from junior to senior level, it's not that easy. And so sometimes players are not able to get the playing time to help develop them. So sometimes we need to be patient. And if we believe in the player, we are also going to select him. We keep believing in him in the national team. Afterwards, we have this relationship between potential and performance. And here, coaches, I would like to give you, if you allow me, a piece of advice. When you are scouting players, be mindful not only to evaluate what they actually do, but if there are things they are trying to do, but they are just unable to achieve because they are still developing, They are still in a maturation stage where they have margin to develop. So here, it's mainly subjective. It's our opinion. If we believe this player can become a top player in the future, can he or she play in a different position, for instance, when it comes to the high level? And afterwards, we have to take into consideration performance, obviously. Club context, how he behaves when he performs in the national team, competitive rhythm, how much actual playing time is he getting, and the level. It's not the same to play in the first division and play in the fifth division. It's not the same. You can play less here and be a better player than if you are playing in the lower division, or the other way around. But the level of the division matters, okay? I wanted to actually tell you this. Also, finally, game model, style of play. This part is always difficult for the players because it's really subjective. You have a specific style of play. You play with a 4-3-3 formation, a 4-4-2. You attack with a combination play. You play with counter-attack. And there will be players that are more suited to one style of play than the others. And sometimes, it's true, we may be unfair towards some players because we feel that some of them gives us better things to our style of play. But also, we have to consider the opponent's style of play, because we can actually select players that have characteristics that strategically may help us, give us an edge over the opponent. So this is all the criteria we use when we are having discussions, and I'm being as open and honest as I can be. Well, into the final 10 or so minutes of my presentation, here I had the biggest challenge. I thought about 2 or 3 topics that I wanted to share with you, where I think physical education teachers, grassroots coaches, people studying in university, people educating themselves can play a big role in the development of football in your country. So, as you can see, this has been publicized in the FIFA Youth Training Manual that you can find online. I also put the references in the end of my presentation. And as you can see, FIFA made available the stages of learning and the stages of development. Okay, there are also a lot of people, scientific professors that have contributed to this. Professor Stambulova, Willman, Cote. I advise you to try and learn more about their proposed way of developing players, a long-term plan. But as you see, when we talk about ages 6 to 12, 13 to 15, we talk about laying foundations for physical education. And as a matter of fact, even when we talk about from the age of 16 to 21, we talk about building athleticism and physique. This is not possible if we only concentrate or rely on clubs or federations. We need everyone working together. We need physical education in school. We need to empower our physical education teachers. And I will try to make my point. You won't understand this news, I'm sorry, it's in Portuguese from a newspaper. But what it told us is that from the year 2012 up until last year, the grade physical education in schools was not, even though it was mandatory, the students had to attend the school, the classes, the grade didn't count for the average when they were applying to the university. Well, I try to be cautious not to make this connection, but I strongly believe in this. And what we have seen in a study public from Portugal, Portuguese data, is that between 2006 and 2016, I guess this is a problem worldwide, but nevertheless, this is data from Portugal, we have a drop, a big decrease in the levels of physical education among our younger population. how do you expect to develop in whatever sport your most talented players if they are lacking, or they may be lacking, some of these fundamentals, these basic skills, these not necessarily specific, but general skills? And here on the right, you can see that the proportion of young kids reaching the moderate, advised level of physical activity has also been dropping in the final years. So now, our government has decided once again to make the grade count, trying to send a message to the public that physical education is necessary. It's very important to our country. And here, I would like to congratulate the Honorable Sports Minister, Dr. Kiran Rijiju. I've seen him speak over the past few weeks, and I found amazing the efforts that he's doing, the time he's investing in this vision. I believe in it as well, like you are all doing here today. I really believe physical education plays a big part in the education of young kids, but also for us that are on the other end, at the federation level. We need you. We need your work, and the kids need your work. And I wanted to send you this message. I hope you understand it. When it comes to a topic that I wanted to address, because you play a big part in this, is the relative age effect. I don't know if all of you have heard about this, so in a 1 minute or two, I'll try to explain it. Across many sports and in team sports, science has proved this for the past 20 years or so, we have seen constantly an overrepresentation of players born in the first months of the selection year, normally January, February, and March, when compared to players that were born later in the year. This data here comes from the top divisions, football top divisions in the world. So this is a problem that gets to that senior level. But I wanted to show you this problem is even bigger, this bias, when we talk about youth football. This data here comes from the Under-17 World Cups. And so what you see is that clubs and federations tend to select more players that were born in the beginning of the year. Why this happens is mainly because of our bias, because we are evaluating, focusing a lot on performance. And the young kid, boy or girl, that was born in January compared to a kid born in November, December, he or she has almost 11 to 12 months more life experience, more sporting experience when you have trials, when you try to be selected for a club or for a federation. And when we talk about growth, puberty, you will see that there are early maturers. So if these kids start their maturation earlier, they will be stronger, faster, quicker than their colleagues. It's not a matter of talent, you know, because as you see here, this curve actually, when it comes to the senior level, starts to be more even, which means that many of the players that were early maturers were later dropped from the high level of sports. And the other ones, the little ones, the ones that had to fight their way with the stronger players, actually are able to get to the high level. I wanted to give you this message, and just before I move on, in my last 5 minutes, see this number here. We are talking about that the main clubs from the main academies around the world, Ajax.
Excuse me, Alex.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So we are getting some of the messages, and that your voice is not clear actually. So
okay, I'll try to. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, I'll try to speak closer to the microphone.
Yeah, please.
A bit louder. Yeah. You can have water or something.
So, as you can see here, the main clubs, the main academies, compared to the other ones, actually select players that have born early in the year. So this bias is even more marked when it comes to the best academies and the best federation. It's a problem we have also in Portugal, okay? This is all around the world. Why education matters? Because people like you that are studying, educating yourselves can find that there are some things that you can do to try to stop this bias. In PSV Eindhoven, there was a study conducted that the scouts, when they had no information about the date of birth, they selected players with a lot of bias. Many players born early in the year. But with a simple gesture, when the scouts had to watch the players with their shirts ordered according to their date of birth, so January was number 1, and later in the year was like number 24, when they could see the difference between the date of birth, that bias was almost gone. So there are some things that if we study, we can do better when we are scouting for players. So my advice to you, and this is an ongoing process, search for potential, not just performance. And I must highlight this, just obviously performance is important. It's what we all see. But if you see a young kid that tries to do the right things, tries to play good, but maybe for a biological reason, he doesn't have the strength to make the pass or execute well, be patient. Keep an eye on him, okay? And so, until under 17, until the end of puberty, try to increase participation. Allow them playing time and try to delay that selection process. I also wanted to talk to you about the importance of role models. Obviously, in Portugal, we have Cristiano. He's a big role model for our young kids. But I am a fan of Sunil. Sunil Khetri played in Portugal in Sporting Lisbon. I watched him play. Ever since 2012, I have been a huge fan. And I like very much what he stands for. And don't forget, you are role models for your kids, for your students, as physical education teachers, as grassroots coaches. But you can also use these models so that they can aspire to become like them. Messages like stopping racism. This gesture that Sandesh Ingham did was something that touched my heart as well. These type of examples are very important when you are educating people. When you allow the great goalkeeper Subrata Paul lift the trophy, being him the captain, it was an amazing gesture. Don't forget, we are helping to develop football players or cricket players, but more importantly, we are developing human beings to live in a cultural, in a social society. I will try to show you some videos, some very quick videos. I know sometimes the connection is not so good. I will try to make them visible. I found these videos from India that were posted on the Asian Football Confederation Facebook, and I really like them. Because this goes to show you what? Okay, the infrastructure, the environment may not be the best. Obviously, better conditions help to develop better players, for sure. But what you see in these kids, they have to have passion. They have to have drive. They have to have heart to be playing like this. So try your best not to make excuses. Try your best to work. If you have one ball and you have play kids, you can coach them. You can help them develop. That's the most important thing. Adaptability is key. And that's one of the main characteristics, for instance, that our coaches have. And that helps us to work all around the world, because in Portugal, we have to work. We have good conditions, but we also have bad conditions. And I will try to show you here this is, I'll try to make the video roll. This is some footage from young Cristiano. As you can see, the football pitch is also not the best there is. You can also see images from Lionel Messi, obviously, and so on, but don't be a barrier, okay? Find opportunities to help develop their passion. And finally, I'm getting to the end. I'm sorry if I'm taking a little bit longer. I wanted to give you, and this probably won't tell the best of my federation, of my work, but this goes to show you that this is an ongoing process. Here you have, I'll try to have the laser again. Here you have Cristiano. And you know, his first international match with the football team, the federation, was at the age of 14. So we can see that his talent was spotted very early on. But this is not always the case, and we have to be open. Bernardo Silva, I hope that many of you may know him. He is a big Portuguese player. He plays now for Manchester City in the Premier League. Bernardo only came for the national team under 19. He was 18 years old already. You remember that tournament I talked to you about, the under 14 all around the country? He wasn't even there. He was one of those little kids that struggled all his life to reach his dream. And he made it. Yeah, as you can see, he played with us in the under 21, and now he's a big player for our country. So be patient with talent. Don't be so judgmental in an early stage, okay? Advice that I give you. Another one, to be over, is João Felix. He was the most expensive player last year. He now plays for Atletico Madrid. He already is in the senior team. You can see him here with Cristiano. But I look at his figures in the national team. His first match was in the under 18 level. And look, he only played 2 games. So, and he was actually in the under 14 teams very early on. So he was spotted at the regional level, and afterwards he had to go through a different cycle and wait and fight and work hard to be spotted again. So always keep searching for talent. Don't let your players, don't waste the opportunity to keep looking for them. And so, in my final slide, I tried to make the best I could to make you feel that even us in the federation, when we talk about player development, we need everybody, community coaching, schools, physical education teachers, because from the get-go, from the early beginning, if your work is able to be done well, we will collect the product of your work. Obviously, when I scout for players, clubs, and federation at my level is more important. But this is an ongoing process. Everyone matters. I want to thank you for your patience, and I hope I was able to make my presentation of some value to you all. You have here my email. If you want to ask some questions after this session also, please be my guest.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alex, for wonderful presentation. I know you have covered, how you people are working, and you have collected a lot of memories, a lot of things happening in our country as well. So, and you made that presentation, like how the players' development process takes place. So, thank you so much, and we'll have so many questions related to your topic, and
Perfect.
Before that, I'll just invite Usha ma'am. Ma'am, please. Shall I take question or? Yeah, yeah, okay. So, Alex, the first question is, shall we start the question answer?
Yeah, for sure. For me,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, okay, fine. Thank you. So, I'll take the first question. Mr. Uttam Singh Negi, and he is a football coach. He wanted to ask that in session structure, a mature and professional academies in different age group in Portugal, what is the methodology used, coaching methodology?
Okay, you know, thank you for the question, Mr. Thompson. I have to be very careful because whenever we make generalizations, we tend to be a little bit biased. One thing that I can tell you with a bit of certainty is that the ball is present almost throughout all of the session. Our coaches, especially when working with grassroots, they come from university and so on, and they try to teach the game from the game itself. Usually in the beginning of the session, the warm-up, for instance, is done already with the ball, with the players juggling the ball, and then the session is built up so that all the phases of play are practiced. And I would advise always end the sessions with play, especially when we are working with kids. Because remember, whenever we are kids, if we have a ball, we don't put cones in the street and dribble around. We make matches and we try to make it even. If a team is better than the other, we change players so that it's balanced. So game plays a big part in the development. And I would give another advice, because if physical education is not as high as it should be, we cannot waste time when we are trying to learn new sports. So make games. That would be very important. When it comes to the senior level, we have different methodologies, but we are mainly focused on our own style of play. We build our exercises according to the way that our team plays. If the coach that asked the question wants me to then afterwards send him an email with some literature or some proposed authors, I'll be more than happy to do so.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Alex. Now, in addition to the same question, I'll just take it one more question related to that. A big debate is going on, isolate technical training, and some say it's important and some totally denied. Mm-hmm. So what are your opinion on that? Because now many coaches, they are recommending that we should have match related, we should have dynamic session from very beginning, and that. So what do you feel and what you people follow there, please?
You are trying to put me in the middle of the storm, in the eye of the storm. But I will take.
That is what the questions coming from participants. Yeah.
And actually, here in Portugal, we have. It's actually funny because our universities have different views, and some scientific professors that stand for different methodologies. I was able and lucky enough to learn a little bit from all of them. My view is a balanced one. Like everything in life, for me, we need to keep a balance. I don't think when we are coaching young kids that it would be right to only play match from minute 1 till the end of the session. And at the other end, I also don't believe that trying to develop technical isolated skills an entire session, it's the right way. I guess these things, this methodology can work together. You can actually see if some players have some difficulties dribbling the ball, passing the ball when they are playing the match. Okay, so it's the job of the coach, when he analyzes that, to spend some time of his session, better at the beginning, to try to develop so that the players can have better abilities and develop over time. I'm not sure that I was helpful with my answer, but I honestly believe that we should have a mix of these two theories. Not everything should be integrated, not everything should be isolated, okay? But definitely, and I must say this, the biggest part of the session should be about playing the game and the way you want to play. If you are at a high level, this is even more important.
Yeah, okay, sure.
I'm sorry,
Thank you, Alexandria. We have a guest with us. We have one of, this being an International Olympic Day, we have Mr. Prashant Kushwaha, who's the chairman of the IOEC, Indian Olympic Education Committee, who's General Secretary of Canoeing and Kayaking Association, Joint Secretary of the Madhya Pradesh Olympic Association, has done his Masters in Business Management, has also participated in many tournaments of canoeing and kayaking as a player. So a warm welcome on behalf of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, Kano India. Prashant sir, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for inviting me.
I also welcome Janice Frostwhite. It's the first time I'm seeing you. Janice is from Australia, who's been heading. It's so nice seeing you. I know I think it's midnight there. Thank you so much for being with us. Yeah, welcome to you. Before we take up, sir, we'll just have a few questions, or I request you to speak a few words. Followed by that, we can ask other panelists to speak. So on the occasion of this Olympic Day, I request you to give a message, please.
Yeah, I had a question for Alexander. I really enjoyed your passion and your motivation and
I think it's not audible. Janice, I think I'm able to get in. I'll put your question across. I just put your question. Janice had put a question to.
Yes, I was wondering about the women's.
It was regarding the women's path.
Halfway.
Sorry. I'll try to put it across.
okay, I'll wait a little bit.
For football, Janice wanted is there a women's pathway for that of football? Is the question that I saw the question you put on the chat box.
Yeah.
Well,
all right. Am I right? Because it wasn't audible. Yes, you could answer that.
Nice to meet you, Mir. Thank you for the question and the kind words. It was probably a mistake on my part not to show the women pathway. I made this option, but I will tell you that we don't have in the national team, we don't have yet a specific national team for each age group, but we have under 15, under 16, under 17, afterwards under 19, and the senior team. And this has been developed over the past 3 or 4 years. When it comes to the competition structure, we have a senior competition with 2 divisions, but the level is not so high yet. It's an amateur competition yet. And when it comes to the grassroots or the initiation period, the girls actually play with boys. We have mixed competition, I guess, until the age of under 15. And that has been very important. I must say, like 5 years ago, I watched the women football in my country, and I thought, whoa, that there's still a long way to go. But nowadays, only with 5 years, it's incredible the development that the young girls with passion have showed. And I really believe that this vision will help better the women football in my country. I hope I answered.
Thank you, Janice. Are Kluka? Yeah. Kluka, please.
Thank you for a very succinct discussion of a very challenging topic. Being the age I am and the experience and the knowledge I have, I'm in agreement with you on many of the ways in which you've approached this from a sports science base. In my opinion, nothing can be more important for any development than a sports science base. So congratulations to you for not only understanding that, but also applying that to what happens with your elite performances. My question to you is, how are you trying to make that possible so that physical education teachers all the way through to elite coaches not only understand sports science, but are also able to apply it?
Thank you for your kind words. Well, once again, I'll try to be careful with the generalization. I actually feel that probably physical education, also here in Portugal, doesn't have as much impact as it should, and not much attention is actually being paid to the importance of physical education teachers. What I feel is that luckily we have many students graduating, and that is I feel working in university and trying also always to learn more. It's very, very good that we have so many people trying to get educated and that try to lead the change into the future, because sometimes they go into the reality and they have directors, either school directors, either academy directors, whatever the area, that are not so up to date, let's put it this way. And so the better educated they are also better able to reach, to make bridges when they are arguing their position. And so I think, like everything, this is an ongoing process. I actually have the utmost respect for everyone involved in the sporting area, because I know that my job is only possible because of them, but I'm not actually sure that they feel this, because it's not often said, you know, and we have to do better as authorities in general, government, federations, to do that. I don't know if I
Thank you.
was able to answer.
Thank you.
Put forth the question initially. I wanted Alexander to answer that. How did Alexander reach the position? Because it's an important message for all the participants.
Okay,
Could you the position you attained today, how did you reach that? I'm speaking on behalf of Kluka.
I'll try to do this very briefly because I really believe in this. So it's easy for me to talk a little bit about it. I was not a former player. I didn't play football professionally. I played at the regional level, a very low level. And so early on, I didn't have quality. And so early on, I decided I want to be a coach. Where can I learn? And so I decided to go to university and study, do my degree. And I don't know if this happens all around the world. I apologize for that. But here in Portugal, every degree in university, when we are talking about the masters and sometimes the degrees, the last year, you have to keep getting classes and also do an internship. So I was doing my internship in a Lisbon club. It's like it's not the biggest club, but it's a good club that plays in the first division. And I met my head coach. And so I did my internship for 1 year. They liked my work and I kept working with him. After 2 years, he was invited for the federation. He's a former player. He won many championships in Portugal. He played for the national team. A very good coach. And he was kind enough to invite me to go with him. And so we have this mixture of former players, academic people. And I wanted to tell you one more thing, and I hope I don't take too much time. Try to learn all you can. If you are not a former player, don't create a barrier. Try to learn from them, as they should do the other way around. I didn't know many things about the specifics of the game. What did I do? When I did my internship, my father was able to buy me a little camera. And so the way that I was able to make myself useful for my head coach, I started to videotape the training sessions, the games. And so I started through scouting. Scouting is okay, scouting is important. You learn the game as you go. And so step by step, try to make the best out of the possibilities that may come your way. That would be my advice to you if you allow me to do so.
Thank you so much. Prashant sir, are you there? Prashant sir? I think I was trying to contact Prashant sir. Naren, you can ask this one more question. Naren, can you take up one question, please? Yeah. Prashant sir, sir, unmute sir.
Yeah, am I audible?
So for your message, today's being an Olympic day, and we are indeed fortunate to have you. May I request you to kindly speak a few words?
Yeah, good evening, everyone, and thanks for calling me. I'm closely associated with your institute from along, and I'm thankful that you have invited me. As Sir has told, we have to check and you have to loop in with coaches and all the team to work for it. And the way you have explained it and the way that participants are working it, I think so India will grow because we are lacking with this thing only. Like coaches are there, but they don't know. But they do all the job. They do physiotherapist, massager, doctor, gym instructor, everything they do. Like in foreign, people are there who are support to them. For example, coach say we need strength, then strength coach will help us. But that way it doesn't goes in India. So thanks. It's a great thing and great lecture. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your valuable presence. Kishore, sir. Dr. Kishore, sir. Sir, we have.
I couldn't attend the session. I was caught up with some issues. So
Yes, sir.
I think it would have been a nice session.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate the kind presence of.
I just like to inform you, sir. We have Janice Crosswhite from Australia.
Yeah.
I think it's midnight there. In spite of that, she's attending. And we have Prashant, sir, who's joined us. Janice is from Australia. I think it's midnight or early morning. And she's sitting to attend our session. Thank you so much. Who's been doing too much of work. So Kishore, is a principal too. I just wanted to introduce you. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Mr. Janice, for your kind presence, and also of course Dr. Renna Lukamadam is our source of inspiration, and Mr. Alexandra. So we were looking for some inputs from football for strengthening our community coaching in football. So definitely it would have been of much help. So I thank both our distinguished resource persons and eminent panelists. Thank you very much.
And Sir Prashant Kushwaha sir also was there. So, Sanjay, can I conclude? So on behalf of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, I need to thank our most charming and dynamic Alexander Sylvia. Thank you so much. It was good. I think it's a lot of smiles, and you brought in a lot of energy, and now all are motivated. And I think it's going to be football and football. So thank you so much. It was a wonderful session. All of us really enjoyed. I need to thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your kind words.
I need to thank Prashant Kushwaha sir for your valuable presence. We invited you in a short time, but you made your presence possible. Thank you, Prashant sir. I'd like to thank Janice because Janice has been doing a wonderful job. And I always felt that you had a problem in internet connectivity. But you made it possible today before the end of the session. Thank you so much because you're connecting all the members. I have come to know of it. Communicating, sending all the communications. And you got us Lisa for the wonderful session. So thank you so much, Janice Crosswhite. I'd like to thank Clicker. I said we always have a spark. I don't say a spark. You have a light which is always glowing. And you've come in, it comes with lights. Thank you so much, Clicker, for your valuable presence. I'd like to thank Dr. G. Kishore sir, a principal who's the motivating force behind. Thank you so much, sir, Kishore sir. I'd like to thank Dr. Narendra Gangwar for being a co-host. I'd like to thank all the participants, invited guests, each one of you, and looking forward to a wonderful session tomorrow. Thank you and namaste. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Tomorrow we have a session by Walter Yano from Bengal. So please see that it's going to be a very interesting session. Please attend this session at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. We'll get you back. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Narendra. It was my pleasure. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you.